Sometimes you're just late to the party, know what I mean? That's how I felt for a long time about One Piece. I was already living in Japan when the manga started in 1997. It is still going strong today in 2026, almost 30 years later. Record breaking. Over 600 million copies in circulation around the world. Best-selling manga series ever. Written and illustrated by a single author, Eiichiro Oda. In Japan, everyone knows One Piece. I think most people here, and probably around the world, know it from the anime series produced by Toei Animation. It has been airing consistently since 1999 and has 14 animated feature films to go along with it. But I never watched it. It wasn't on when I was home because of work. There was no such thing as streaming or video on demand back then, so I just let it pass me by. Plus, no English subs, so it wasn't as accessible to me as it was for normal Japanese viewers or people abroad who could enjoy it in their own languages. Yet, I still thought I would get to it someday. Someday. So I waited and waited and waited, and then realized it was never going to end. Right now, in 2026, it has over 1,155 episodes, plus the 14 movies I mentioned. At 20 minutes per episode, minus credits and commercials, it would take me 385 days of watching, 24 hours each day, non-stop, without sleep, just to catch up from the start. And I wouldn't want to skip the start. So I just gave up ever watching it. Then something wonderful happened. Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome to the video and thank you for your time. Today I want to talk about how Netflix saved One Piece for me. Before that, just a reminder to leave a like, drop a comment, share this video, and consider subscribing to my channel. The usual YouTube stuff, everything helps. I first heard that a live-action version of One Piece was going into production while I was watching The Imperfects, a Canadian superhero science fiction series, also on Netflix, that was cancelled after one season. It aired in 2022, and one of the characters, a kind of werewolf chupacabra, was played by a young Mexican actor. He was still a teenager at that time, named Iñaki Godoy Yasso, although he seems to go by just Iñaki Godoy when he's working, as far as I can see. He was cast as Luffy. I knew Luffy. I'd seen his image and previews for the anime series a few times. All I knew, though, was that he was a pirate. He had a straw hat. He always had a huge grin. And he could stretch his body. Oh, and he couldn't swim for some reason. That's it. That's all I knew. Why could he stretch? Why was he a pirate, a captain no less, when he couldn't swim? Nothing. I knew nothing. His full name was Monkey D. Luffy, so was he actually a monkey? No idea. The only other character I knew by name was Chopper, some kind of humanoid reindeer. A few of my students liked Chopper, so I heard the name from them. But what was Chopper? Was it a pet? Was it like a human? I had no idea about anything in the show. But since I knew the actor who would be playing Luffy, I thought that this Netflix series might be a nice way to get into the massive world of One Piece. Having a familiar face representing the show. Then Season 1 came out on Netflix in 2023, all 8 episodes. I watched episode 1, then moved on to other shows that had been stacking up in my list. It never gets shorter, only forgotten about, right? You might have the same experience. Anyway, there is lots to watch on Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and so on and so on. Sadly, One Piece slipped through my grasp again and I left it idle. Until this year when Season 2 dropped, 2.5 years later, another 8 episodes. Apparently, a second season had been ordered 2 weeks after the first season dropped, but was delayed somewhat due to the SAG-AFTRA strike in 2023. And a third season has already been ordered, going into production in November 2025 before Season 2 even started airing. Netflix has confidence in this series, and it is justified. Season 1, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Season 2, 100%. Season 1, a top 10 show in 93 countries, hitting number 1 in 46 of them. 140 million hours of viewing time by 18.5 million different viewers in its first week on Netflix, a number that grew as the weeks passed. Great word of mouth, I guess. Plus, a very diverse audience in the US, 25% Hispanic, 19% African American. I don't know the details for season 2 yet, but it seems to be doing just as well. When season 2 dropped, I went back, rewatched season 1, episode 1, and haven't stopped watching since. I get it now. This is a pretty cool show, based on a seminal manga, referencing an enormously popular anime series. It is all cool. And one thing I really like about it, one thing that just makes it work, it is unapologetic. When I watched Aquaman, I was really impressed by how it embraced its roots and the idiosyncrasies of the character and the world he lived in. Talk to marine life? Sure. Vivid, colorful undersea realm? You got it. Riding seahorses that whinny and sharks that roar like tigers? Of course. It was all in the comics, so it was all in the movie. And it worked. What a fun ride the first Aquaman was. It is the same with this One Piece series. In the manga, no one is drawn in a photorealistic manner, and the costumes and hair are absurdly wonderful. Same goes for this Netflix series. The costumes, the set designs, the realism of the ocean contrasted with the stylization of the ships, creatures, friends, adversaries, plant and animal life. This series embraces its origins with no embarrassment. It is what fans would expect. And if you don't respect the existing fan base, the very reason the manga and anime became popular, why bother making a live-action series at all, right? And don't get me started on the wigs. If you've never seen One Piece in its anime form, never read the manga, this Netflix series is the perfect way to dive in without fear. When a new character appears, if they are pirates, a wanted poster is splashed across their faces to introduce them. Characters often introduce themselves, explain their interests or abilities, but not in a way that feels like an info dump, just a trope seen in other genres like kung fu movies. Characters often call each other by name, and this repetition helps audiences keep everyone straight, and there are a lot of characters who wander in and out of the episodes. It seems daunting on the surface, but it never gets confusing. We have Monkey D. Luffy, the main character. We have Nami, a thief and mapmaker. We have Roronoa Zoro, a fighter on a quest to become the world's strongest swordsman, always carrying his 3 swords. Yes, 3. He only has 2 hands, but when you see him fight, it makes sense. We have Usopp, a sniper, a shipbuilder, and a storyteller, most of which are less than true. And rounding out the crew, we have Sanji, master chef and martial artist. He only uses his feet. All of them have their reasons for being on a ship. All of them have their own dreams and their own journeys. Dreams are a big part of this show. Have a dream, chase it, never give up, and stick by your friends because you can't do everything alone. Now I know why Luffy can stretch. Now I know why he became a captain, and why he can't swim, and why that doesn't stop him. Now I know why he wears a straw hat, and now I know more about Chopper. I might be a little older than the overall target demographic for this show, but based on the language and the provocative clothing some female characters wear, it deserves its rating. As some critics mentioned, it has a real old-school Saturday morning cartoon vibe, and people of my generation might remember how dark some of those Saturday morning cartoons could get. I hardly recommend giving the One Piece series on Netflix a look, especially if you come in blindly like I did. But how about you? Have you seen the Netflix series? If so, did you like it? Were you, or are you, already familiar with the anime or manga? Drop a comment and let me know what's on your mind. I'd love to read it. And leave a like if you enjoyed this video, share it with anyone who might be interested in watching, and consider subscribing to my channel for more content on entertainment topics of all kinds. As I said before, everything helps. Thanks for watching. See you next time.